To help solve our state's ongoing energy challenges, our Maui electric team has been working with energy partners from Japan and the United States on a new smart grid demonstration project, Jump Smart Maui.
I mahalo ke akua e na ohana no PV no EV.
Almost a year since its debut, the Jump Smart Maui project is addressing the challenges of modernizing our smart grid system and building a clean transportation future for Hawaii. Funded through a $30 million investment by New Energy and Industrial Technology Development Organization, or NEDO, Japan's largest public research and development management organization. Jump Smart Maui aims at improving integration of variable renewable energy resources, such as solar and wind power, and preparing the electric system for widespread adoption of all electric vehicles.
We're really leading the world in our challenges here in Hawaii for small island grids. So stakeholders like the Japanese government are interested in coming to places like this and developing technologies to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel, increase our utilization of renewable energy, and lower costs for all ratepayers. What we've seen already is increased adoption rates of electric vehicles, and that's a key for the state to reduce its dependence on fossil fuels and increase utilization of renewable energy from the electricity grid. That in conjunction with our customers working with the utility to manage loads and resources and smart inverters to allow increased adoption of renewable energy, that's the ultimate goal.
Currently, there are more than 300 EV drivers participating in the Jump Smart project. One participant, Greg Kresge, truly walks the walk, as he also serves as the environmental compliance engineer for our Ma'alaya power plant.
The Jump Smart concept is that, the charging of your vehicle happens when we have extra power on the grid so that it doesn't go to waste. So that at night when we have the lowest demand and the lowest load demand on the system, that's when it's the windiest, and we end up having a lot of wind that can't necessarily be used. And so if we can charge our vehicles at that time of the night, and we can turn that over so that that's done while we're asleep, then that gives us the opportunity to be able to use a resource that is otherwise going to waste.
This UN climate conference is a reminder that the answer is in our hands, and the clock is ticking. We are in the fight of our lives, and we are losing. We are on a highway to climate hell with our foot still on the accelerator.
He had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. The sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, Loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000,000, and I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouths, and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts.
The line is going to change things for the better because we can implement global best practice into every element of the city.
We are working with the best architects and planners from around the world in order to take all of the learnings we've inherited from other cities and create a new city from scratch.
At The Line, we're working on building an urban model which provides unprecedented livability, a model for nature preservation and sustainability, all while providing a unique environment for economic growth. I am Tariq Qadoumi, and I am the Executive Director of Urban Planning at NEOM.
I am Giles Pendleton, and I am the Executive Director for the Line Proponent.
I'm Salwa Al-Khudairi, and I'm a Senior Architect at NEOM Urban Planning.
My name is Michio Kaku. I'm a professor of theoretical physics, and I'm also a futurist. What will a city of the future look like? When I was a child, I used to think about the city of the future. Are we going to have flying cars? Are we going to visit the moon and Mars? When I grew up, I began to look at these cities like Paris, London, New York, and I saw traffic jams. I saw pollution. I saw tremendous inequalities. And I said to myself, we can do better. We can create, perhaps out of the desert, a city that would be sustainable, livable, a city of the future. The Line shows us a new way of doing things, a new pattern by which we can make a livable future.
Placemaking to me is about creating the canvas for community.
It's about creating spaces for people to want to visit and live in.
A place that cares for its society.
Many demographers think that the cities of the future will contain about 50 million people. That's not livable at all. At The Line, we are working on creating a template by which we can create cities of the future. That's where jobs are. That's where opportunities are. And so placemaking to me is about creating a legacy, creating a template by which other nations can then compare their cities, their plans with what's being done here in Saudi Arabia. So, what are we looking at here?
So we're looking at the Line as a whole. The Line spans across 3 different geological regions. So we have the coastal desert, the mountain, and the upper valley. It starts out at 500 meters height, and then slowly, as the topography rises, it disappears into the mountains. We have the hidden marina. This is where we're starting construction. We bring in a canal from the Red Sea to create a bay.
All this is sustainable, right?
NEOM itself is 100% renewable energy. We produce energy through solar, wind, and hydrogen. We also have 100% sustainable water, meaning we take out water through desalination from the sea.
Right.
However, we don't dump the brine back into the sea. So we use that salt and we recycle it, making the process very sustainable. So this is a section of the line. You're going to have the mirror. This is where the mobility at height is going to be happening. This is your neighborhood, for example, right?
And where are the shops where people can go shopping for
So
things?
all of here is shops, right?
Shops,
So
right.
where your public space is, these that could be office spaces, right? Where people
Right.
come down for lunch and sit outside. And basically you're 5 minutes away from your daily needs, meaning your school, your nursery.
It makes life very convenient then, right? Everything's within walking distance. Like Midtown Manhattan, you're within walking distance of everything.
Of everything.
Within Midtown. But outside of that is hell.
It gets worse
The
and worse.
commuting is incredible
Exactly.
to get to that Midtown Manhattan. So this is where all the action takes place.
Absolutely.
Right here.
Absolutely. So this is
Okay.
representative of an 800-meter wide module, 500 meters tall. These lights demonstrate what a mobility corridor would do. So as you can see, we have no ground floor. The subway is at multiple heights. And that allows you to potentially, if you're in a unit here, you can either go up to a subway or down to a subway.
So if I live here, then the 5-minute rule would be around here?
Yeah, so 5-minute rule is generally 400 meters, vertically and horizontally, and literally across. So we live in a 3-dimensional city. The 5-minute rule is really a function of achieving your daily needs.
And no cars. This
No
is
cars.
amazing. No cars.
Yes, I think that the principle of the module is about community. You don't enjoy or become part of community by driving past in a car. So the idea is to encourage our residents and visitors to explore the city on foot.
So your world, with all your basic needs, are met within 5 minutes of your living unit. Like Lego blocks, if you stack these modules one after the other, you get the line.
Absolutely.
The original Lego movie introduced President Business, this egomaniacal business tycoon who went on to become the leader of the free Lego world. This was 2 years before the 2016 election. Did you guys predict the rise of Donald Trump?
We're from the future.
Yes.
And you figured it out.
It's true. We did make a character who always wears a big red tie and builds walls and is a businessman president. We started writing that in 2011. And they came out in 2014. And then if you want to see what the future is like, you have to see Lego Movie 2, because we came from the future again to tell you what it's going to be.
Only 2 years ahead, though.
Exactly.
But perhaps with all your jetting around, you have not had chance to peruse today's headlines. I rather like the last one. It isn't even mine.
I never believe what I read in the press anyway.
Therein lies your problem, Mr. Bond. You see, we're both men of action, but your era and Miss Lynn's is passing. Words are the new weapons. Satellites, the new artillery.
And you become the new Supreme Allied Commander?
Exactly. Caesar had his legions, Napoleon had his armies. I have my divisions. TV, news, magazines. And by midnight tonight, I'll have reached and influenced more people than anyone in the history of this planet, save God himself. And the best he ever managed was the Sermon on the Mount.
You really are quite insane.
The distance between insanity and genius is measured only by success.
Which passages of Scripture should guide our public policy? Should we go with Leviticus, which suggests slavery is okay, and that eating shellfish is an abomination? Or we could go with Deuteronomy, which suggests stoning your child if he strays from the faith? Or should we just stick to the Sermon on the Mount, a passage that is so radical that it's doubtful that our own Defense Department would survive its application?
Indeed, it could well be argued that the Sermon on the Mount, had it been a government report, should certainly not have been published. A most irresponsible document. All that stuff about the meek inheriting the earth could do irreparable damage to the defense budget.
Good morning, apartment. Good morning, doorway. Good morning, wall. Morning, ceiling. Good morning, floor. Ready to start the day. Ah, here it is. Instructions to fit in, have everybody like you, and always be happy. Step 1, breathe. Okay, got that one down. Step 2, greet the day, smile, and say, Good morning, city! Good morning, city!
Morning, city!
City! Morning, city! How you doing? Morning, city! Step 3, exercise. Jumping jacks, hit 'em. 1, 2, 3. I am so pumped up! Step 4, shower. And always be sure to keep the soap out of your ass! Shave your face, brush your teeth, comb your hair. Haha. Wear clothes. Oop, almost forgot that one. No, not that, wrong. And that's it, check. Step 9, eat a complete breakfast with all the special people in your life. Hey, Planty, what do you want to do this morning? Watch TV? Me too!
Hi, I'm President Business, president of the Octan Corporation and the world. Let's take extra care to follow the instructions or you'll be put to sleep. And don't forget Taco Tuesday's coming next week. That's the day every rule-following citizen gets a free taco and my love!
We're in position between the fleets. Fire one missile at the flagship of each fleet. The Chinese will think the British are rattling the saber. The British will think the Chinese are being belligerent. And the media will provide cool, objective coverage. Let the mayhem begin. What you're about to witness, Miss Lynn, is not so much a missile attack for the launch of a new world order. In precisely 5 minutes after your countrymen have attacked the British fleet, I shall retaliate for dear old England by sending this missile into Beijing. But General Chang has just called an emergency meeting of the Chinese High Command. Unfortunately, General Chang will be delayed in traffic, arriving just after the missile has killed your leaders, and too late to stop the Air Force from sinking the entire British fleet. But he will be just in time to take over the government, negotiate a truce, and emerge as a world leader with a Nobel Peace Prize.
Have a great day, everybody.
You have a great day too, President Business. Man, he's such a cool guy. I always want to hear more of what... Wait, did he say put to sleep?
Tonight on Where Are My Pants?
Honey, where are my pants?
Oof. What was I just thinking? I don't care. Step 11. Greet your neighbors. Hey, Joe.
Hey, pal.
Oh, hey, Surfer Dave.
Hey, brah.
Oh, good morning, Sherry.
Hey, fella.
Oh, hey, Jasmine.
Meow.
Dexter.
Meow.
Angie.
Meow.
Loki.
Meow.
Bad Leroy.
Meow.
Fluffy.
Meow.
Fluffy Jr.
Meow.
Fluffy Sr.
Meow.
Jeff.
Meow.
Step 12. Obey all traffic signs and regulations. Step 13. Enjoy popular music.
What do you get?
Me? Oh, nothing. Just exclusive broadcasting rights in China for the next 100 years. How romantic. Don't you realize how absurd your position is?
No more absurd than starting a war for ratings.
Great men have always manipulated the media to save the world. Look at William Randolph Hearst, who told his photographers, you provide the pictures, I'll provide the war. I've just taken it one step further.
Sorry about that. I tuned out there for a moment, Elliot.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for such an illuminating discussion of the future. Thank you for the opportunity of interacting with the individuals that have made this possible and of actually going to the site itself. It's an experience that you cannot put on a sheet of paper. To see all the bulldozers, the cranes, the hundreds of workers, they're working on a project that they believe in because this is part of their future. But now I'd like to ask some questions. What gave you the inspiration to take on a challenge this big?
The scale was the first thing that got me interested, and I think part of the overall vision around a cognitive and sustainable city, and those are two lenses I've traditionally seen a lot of my career through.
One of my biggest sort of motivations behind this project is for us to continue in our effort to preserve as much of nature as possible and to create a city that can sit side by side with everything that people need on a daily basis and everything that the economy needs to thrive.
I think working on such a radical and I would say challenging project, every minute of every day counts. We all know it. So I think that sense of responsibility is what really drives me.
And Giles, everyone wants to create a legacy. So what are your goals?
The legacy of the line will be that we will start to look at buildings and suburbs in a different way. So can we save time and get more accurate, less waste, more sustainable? And I think the modular thing is really going to be a big part of the success of the line.
I think what we do is the legacy that we leave behind. I think what the line does is that creates an equality which we've rarely seen before around the world, providing equal health care to all of the residents that live on the line, equal access to education, higher education.
So what are some of the challenges and some of the solutions that you guys have come up with?
The line allows us a unique opportunity to placemaking at height.
Our challenges on the line are not to eliminate the bad stuff because that's already not there. I think our challenge is always, how do we make it better?
We have, of course, the rule book of how to build cities and how to build buildings and so on and so forth. But this project rewrites the book.
Absolutely. We are right now designing the line differently. We're using AI extensively to model out, and that disruptive technology is allowing us to compute consequences of our design decisions very quickly.
I'm a theoretical physicist, and I like to say that I walk in the footsteps of giants like Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr. I'm not a philosopher. However, I am rather dazzled by the fact that many of the basic mysteries that we find in string theory and the theory of everything seem to be mirrored in the Zohar and in the Kabbalah.
As a scholar, the most amazing thing of all is the degree to which modern astrophysics sounds like a Kabbalistic text.
So, and as an example, some of the institutions that we're working with are redeveloping their two-dimensional AI models that mapped how people move in a city and where the hotspots are and where the sort of main traffic happens into models that now work in 3 dimensions.
We know this will take trillions, not billions of dollars. We also know that countries, many of whom are burdened by growing levels of debt, simply cannot afford to go green. Here we need a vast military-style campaign to marshal the strength of the global private sector. Here we need a vast military-style campaign to marshal the strength of the global private sector. With trillions at its disposal.
On September the 11th, enemies of freedom committed an act of war against our country. Americans have known wars, but for the past 136 years, they have been wars on foreign soil, except for one Sunday in 1941. Americans have known the casualties of war, but not at the center of a great city on a peaceful morning. Americans have known surprise attacks, but never before on thousands of civilians. All of this was brought upon us in a single day, and night fell on a different world, a world where freedom itself is under attack. Americans have many questions tonight. Americans are asking, who attacked our country? The evidence we have gathered all points to a collection of loosely affiliated terrorist organizations known as Al-Qaeda. They are some of the murderers indicted for bombing American embassies in Tanzania and Kenya and responsible for bombing the USS Cole.
She's still telling me what to do. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Were we rolling tape on that?
There you go.
You got a brush? Yes.
Just a one-finger victory salute.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
It's been great. You know, we have been able to design this project from the start to really meet the needs of Maui.
Looking at the big picture, the project will create a more efficient, reliable, clean energy grid that can be applied to our island and scaled to the larger grid across Hawaii, as well as other parts of the world.
Climate change. It's real, it's serious, and it's up to us to solve it.
That so many of us are here today is a recognition that the threat from climate change is serious, it is urgent, and it is growing.
It all sounds very green. The Environment Secretary, Ed Davey, has been urging other countries to get serious about tackling climate change.
Dear next president, climate change is the most serious problem facing humankind.
We are here all together because we know that the world needs to fight climate change with much, much greater seriousness.
Madam Vice President, you're in charge of the environment for the Iranian government. That's your portfolio. How serious is your government when it comes to tackling climate change, taking serious measures?
Yes, our government is very serious because we adopted a low-carbon economy last year in the government, and we started working in that direction.
Earth's climate is now changing faster than at any point in the history of modern civilization, primarily as a result of human activities. And the climate change could kill thousands of Americans and cost the U.S. economy hundreds of billions of dollars. pretty seriously. Pretty serious. And you seriously may have missed it because even though the report was supposed to come out in December, the Trump administration released it Friday.
Well, my message to President Trump would be very simple, that the rest of the world is very serious about climate change. So are the scientists. The vast majority of scientists are also very serious about climate change. President Macron of France are calling us in a very urgent way to take climate change seriously because the consequences are unthinkable.
I'm here today to say that climate change constitutes a serious threat to global security.
We hear it so much that it feels like a buzzword, but it is far from it. Climate change is a real and serious issue. But isn't the climate always changing?
America's on the verge of technological breakthroughs that will enable us to live our lives less dependent on oil. And these technologies will help us be better stewards of the environment. And they will help us to confront the serious challenge of global climate change.
Around the world, it was the warmest ever recorded. And the fact that the climate is changing has very serious implications for the way we live now.
The kind of work we have to put into it is intense. So we work with people who model movement in cities, people who study neurourbanism, which is measuring human response to height, human response to certain proximity to people. So we're getting that people enjoy seeing greenery and seeing views that are almost surreal in nature. We're building a city not slowly and incrementally. We're building a city at once that is of a different typology.
Salwa, it's sometimes said that where the youth goes, there goes our future. How does the line play in terms of how the young Saudis view the future?
So the team that I work with is made up of a sample of the young Saudi generation. And I can tell you that the ambition and the drive that we wake up with every day is unshakable. The line and NEOM and Saudi in general is giving us the freedom to invent, to innovate, and really think purposefully and thoughtfully.
We're looking at diversification of industry and economy as well. And NEOM plays a major role in that. It's going to bring new technology, new industry, and new services, whether financial or tourism, into the kingdom and as part of that 2030 vision.
Well, scientists say climate change is getting worse and there could be serious consequences for our planet in the next 20 years.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says it's time to get serious about keeping ambitions high on climate action and on building resilience.
With science forecasting a dramatic rise in both the frequency and severity of disasters, it's time to get serious about keeping ambitions high on climate action and on building resilience and reducing disaster risk.
Well, in conclusion, I'd like to say that, well, you convinced me, folks. I mean, I'm sold. I think you guys are actually talking about something that's going to affect the destiny of civilization itself. A new architecture, a new way of thinking, a new way of organizing ourselves, a new way of living. People are going to say to themselves, wow, something new is happening in Saudi Arabia. They've taken the lead. They're thoughtful. They're planning, and they're going to enrich our lives. And so on behalf of, well, everybody, I'd like to thank you so much for giving us a new vision, a vision of our future.
This unanimity on climate change, that it's a serious threat in need of a serious response, stands in stark contrast to President Trump's position.
It's really cold out. And right on cue, Twitter has been overrun with climate deniers cracking tired jokes about global warming. But beyond social media jabs lies a serious and ongoing discussion about how scientists connect extreme weather to underlying climate change.
As I said in a press conference yesterday, we have seen unprecedented mobilization of the world community. People are taking it seriously, and we have a chance actually to solve this problem if we act forcefully and quickly.
And you have made it a serious part of your agenda. And you did say in the State of the Union that no challenge poses a greater threat to future generations than climate change.
David Miller joins me here in Toronto. He is an ambassador for inclusive climate action at C40. What's your reaction to the numbers in this report that we're actually double the global rate?
Well, it's grim, it's serious. If you've been involved with this issue for a long time, as I have, it's sadly not a surprise.
Al Gore is here with us in Studio 57. We're pleased to have him. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So tell me, in 10 years, what has changed that alarms you?
Well, there have been two big changes, Charlie, in the last decade. Number one, the climate-related extreme weather events have become way more serious, way more common. Superstorm Sandy here flooded the War Memorial 9/11 site, for example.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
And will to the best of my ability.
And will to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God. About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Okay, so if we scientists are so good at making these dire long-term predictions about the climate, how come we're so lousy about predicting the weather? Besides, this year, we had a colder winter in my town. For all the scientists know, we could be in for global cooling. Here's the difference between weather and climate. Weather is what the atmosphere does in the short term, hour to hour, day to day. Weather is chaotic, which means that even a microscopic disturbance can lead to large-scale changes. Climate is the long-term average of the weather over a number of years. It's shaped by global forces that alter the energy balance in the atmosphere, such as changes in the sun, tilt of the Earth's axis, the amount of sunlight the Earth reflects back to space, and the concentration of greenhouse gases in the air. A change in any of them affects the climate in ways that are broadly predictable. My friend's meandering represents the short-term fluctuations. That's weather. It's almost impossible to predict what will attract his interest next, but not hard to know what the range of his meandering will be, because I'm holding him on a leash. We can't observe climate directly. All we see is the weather. The average weather over the course of years reveals a pattern. I represent that long-term trend, which is climate. Keep your eye on the man, not the dog. Weather is hard to predict, like my friend here, but climate is predictable. Climate has changed many times in the long history of the Earth, but always in response to a global force. The strongest force driving climate change right now is the increasing CO2.
Houston, filters in place.
Roger, 13.
Suit circuit relief to close. CO2 canister, select to secondary. All right. Goes.
I can hear air moving.
Just breathe normal, fellas.
Please advise on CO2 status.
Yeah, Houston, we're taking a look at those numbers right now.
We're still holding close to 15, Houston. Roger that, standing by.
Houston, the CO2 level has dropped to 9, and it is still falling.
Yes. Good job. That is good to hear, Aquarius. And you, sir, are a steely-eyed missile man.
Yes. You like this, don't you? Yes, you do. Yeah. All right. That's about all, kiddo. There you go. There you are. You just stay right there, Rags, all right?
Poor Rags. The dog.
It's alive. It's a miracle.
I'm the Messiah. I'm serious. The chosen one. The King of Kings. The Alpha and the Omega. You're looking at him.
I am the chosen one.
Russia would be making an incredibly serious mistake if we're to use a tactical nuclear weapon. I'm not guaranteeing you that it's a false flag operation yet. We don't know. But it would be a serious, serious mistake.
Thank you very much.
You serious?
Morning, dear. Hey, Nance, what a terrible dream. I am parched. That's better. I could use another one of those. That's one heck of a nurse.
Do you not think an angel rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm? This work continues. The story goes on. Fool me, what? And an angel still rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm. Shame on. God bless you all. And God bless America.
Shame on you. Shame on you. Get ready to read all these words on this page without making a mistake. You get the letter at the end and remember the sound it makes. Get ready. Kite. Yes, kite. Get ready to read this word the fast way. Get ready. Kid. Yes, kid. Sound it out. Get ready. Kid. Sound it out. Get ready. Kid. What word? Kid. Yes, kid. Boys and girls, sound this word out. Get ready. Seal. What word? Seal. Yes, seal. Read read these words the fast way. Get ready? Play. Yes, play. Get ready? Must. Yes, must. Let's read these words the fast way without making a mistake. Get ready? Hide. Yes, hide. Get ready? Kick. Yes, kick. Get ready? Steal. Yes, steal. Get ready? Play. Yes, play. Get ready? Must. Yes, must. Lesson 60 on page 150.
You will never see it coming. You think I'm joking?
And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.